Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for the next episode in the My Team series. Today, I'm delighted to be joined once again by last year's FPL champion, Jonas. Jonas, a pleasure to have you back on, my friend. Now, a week or so ago, we had you on for your first sort of initial draft, and that has been viewed by over 130,000 people, by the way. Pretty insane stuff. But now, with just a few days to go until the deadline, you're back on to give us a more updated, more finalized draft. Obviously, still a few days to go, but this is going to be a lot closer probably to what you end up going with, right? How are you doing? Pleasure to have you back on.
Pleasure to be back on. I'm doing really good. How about you, Jack?
I'm good. We're getting into the business end now, and I don't know about you, but my team is still pretty up in the air. It's changing day by day, which I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not. There's definitely a big pool of players that we can choose from. A few are locked for me. Not as many as I'd like to have at this time of the season, but yeah, let's see what's going on with your team. As
I think
always,
I think I've changed my team like 3 times today only.
really? Okay. Well, let's get into it. As always, we're going to be building this on Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool. And the great thing about this is that when you put your players into this tool, which is completely free, and you can do this yourself down below in the description if you want to do it, you get a team rating percentage at the end, which pretty much tells you, according to the data, how good your team is looking for the season. Okay, my friend, let's start things off with the goalkeepers. Has there been a change in goal?
Yes, there has.
Oh, okay.
I've decided to not spend 5.5 million on Rhea. Um, Still, I haven't decided ahead of the season, but right now I have Dean Henderson in goal with the rumors of Johnson leaving. He will most likely be first choice and has like decent fixtures. And my second goalkeeper is just a 4.0 fodder. Right now it's Valdemar from Brentford, but it could be whoever really.
Yeah, explain just why you've gone for Henderson over, for example, a Flecken or another 4.5. I think it makes sense taking money out of the goalkeeper if you know you're going to use that in the 11 and in the rest of the players. So we'll see where that money has gone later. But just on the 4.5s, why have you gone for Henderson over a Flecken or anyone else at that sort of price?
Well, for me, there's only like two 4.5 goalkeepers I'm considering, and that's Henderson and Flecken.
Okay.
Well, I think I just like Henderson's fixtures better, and if I recall correctly, I saw something about Crystal Palace after Glasner took over had like the fourth or fifth best defense in the league.
That is 100% true. Yeah, their numbers under Glasner were great. I guess a slight doubt is obviously with Gay looking to be going, that could be a potential issue, but who knows? We're playing with things that we're not entirely sure on there. So yeah, just the numbers from the back end of last season, yeah, absolutely right, were phenomenal for the Palace defense. Okay, let's move on to your five defenders then.
All right, so my defenders have changed quite a bit
Ooh, okay.
from when we filmed a few weeks ago. I still have Trent, and I still have Konsa. The other three are new additions in Pedro Porro, Kwanzaa, and Baco.
I like it. I like it a lot. Talk to me first of all about Porro then, because he's a player that kind of wasn't really in sort of everyone's thinking when the game was first launched, but now we're seeing him in quite a few teams, and his popularity is rising. Is that just because of how attacking he is?
Yeah, that's one thing. Last season he had like the highest XGI amongst defenders, I think. And he seemed to be liked by a lot of analytics managers, such as me.
Yeah.
And you're also able to bench him in a few weeks. You got like Newcastle and Arsenal in game week 3 and 4, where you should have all right cover in your other defenders. Yeah, and I'm also looking to wild card out of this team pretty early, so I kind of like his fixtures early on.
Sure. And I think that logic probably is a reason why Kwanzaa might be in your team as well.
Mhm.
Obviously, not entirely sure on his minutes long term, but do you think he's going to start the season? Is that why he's in your team?
Yeah, I think so. He started the last preseason game against Sevilla, and it seems like Arne Slot prefers him to Konate. I think that's a risk worth taking, especially with the really nice fixtures early on for Liverpool.
I agree with that, and he's made his way into my team. I'm just thinking to myself, the worst comes to the worst, and he does drop out the side, say in game week 3, for example, with Barco there to cover, and Konza could come in game week 3 with Leicester away, and then Barco after that to cover that with game week 4 and 5. Say you don't want a wild card super early, you do have the depth there. I mean, I think Barco does sort of pick himself. He's on quite a lot of set pieces, and it looks like he's going to be attacking, and we'll have that place with the Stupinan not in the team, right?
The only issue I have is I think Stupinan is back in like the middle of September, which is around game week 4, game week 5, where you would start playing Barco. So that's a bit of a concern.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll have to wait and see. And I guess you do have the wild card to use it if you really need to. Okay, so that is a defense. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Before we move on to the midfield, I want to ask you about how you use sort of analytics, data, just your sort of more in-depth approach to FPL that obviously won you the game last year. In the last video we did, it was a little bit more casual, talking about just the players really. But let's get into like the nitty-gritty now. How much do you look at the data? How much do you look at websites like Fantasy Football Hub that have so much data available to people like you? And does that really help you out?
Yeah, it really does. So what I'm trying to do with the data is not like taking the things overly prescriptively, but instead like taking a recent position on it as like framework to generate ideas instead of just following it 100%.
Last year, do you have any sort of memory of times where perhaps you were in between a couple of players, and then you looked at the data and it sort of led you in a certain path that you might not have done?
Guardiola in game week 32.
Okay, really?
Who obviously had like a great end of the season. And I think he got 0 points in game week 32, but then he got 33, 34, 35. I don't know. He got like an insane amount of points.
So what happened then? You saw the data in 32 and thought that looked really promising to get on him?
He had a good expected value, so like expected points over a certain amount of time for the rest of the season. And I had 2 free transfers, and I had to differentiate in some way. I thought, why not go with Guardiola? And that turned out pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. And we all know what happened then. If you didn't play last year, Guardiola went on an absolute tear. Not in your team this year, but yeah, he just went crazy at the back end of last season. So before we move on to the midfield, guys, if you would like to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub, that is the best thing to do. It's the best website out there if you want to take advantage of all the data. There's also loads of other stuff which we'll show you later on in the video that you can utilize for your team. But this is the best time in the entire season to sign up. It is currently 50% off before Game Week 1. That offer, though, will end when we pass the deadline. And listen to this. If you do not win your mini league this season, Fantasy Football Hub will refund your entire membership. That is how confident we are in Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to win at FPL and win your mini league, this is what you got to do. Sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. Jonas is going to be on there all season long. He was on there last year, and look at him. He won. If that's not enough, I don't know what is. Click the link in the description or the pinned comment to sign up. Okay, my friend, let's move on to your midfield. Who have you got?
My midfield is very different from last time. So I still got Bruno Fernandes and Eze. Then I got 3 new additions in Saka and Kunku. And as of now, I'm sitting on Oscar Bob, actually.
Whoa.
For my like cheap midfielder.
Okay. Let's go straight to Bob. I just want to hear your thoughts on him and how he's made his way into your team. The expected points of Bob are very telling, I think, here, because they have risen obviously quite a lot from the start of preseason, where he would have just been at 0. Now 3 for Chelsea away. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that is because we're still not entirely sure if he's going to start or not. But this, I think, is where sort of your personal understanding of the game comes into it. Do you think he's going to be a key player then for City early on? You think he's going to start against Chelsea?
I'm pretty certain he will start against Chelsea. Ipswich in game week 2, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think because there's a few players coming back from like the Euros and all of that. And from what I've heard and seen, he's expected to start in game week 1, maybe game week 2, and maybe can get off to a good start and play a few more weeks as well. But he's not a long-term pick by any means. It's pretty short-term and trying to attack the early fixtures. And as I said early on, I am looking to wildcard pretty early. I haven't decided which week yet, but I've looked at both game week 4 and game week 6.
Yeah. Wow. That's the thing. I mean, if you do get that Ipswich at home fixture and he plays, that is the sort of game where, I mean, we all know how good he is. That's the thing. Right? We saw against, I remember the goal against Newcastle last year. Just absolutely phenomenal feat. I was just blown away by his talent.
Mm-hmm.
5 million if he does well in that game, even if we don't think he's going to continue playing in the team, and we can see his predicted points here. If I click on him, just do drop quite suddenly. Mm-hmm. However, hasn't Pep said that the right wing spot this year is going to be between him and Savinho?
I saw something about that. But we all know Pep and we all know City. They have plenty of players that can play on that side. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bernardo play on that side, for instance.
Absolutely. But yeah, start the season. If he does do well, his value is going to fly, you'd imagine. And who cares about value when you're getting loads of points potentially against Ipswich?
It could also easily be, for instance, Morgan Rogers for me, who's at the same price point. And I think both at 5.0 are, you could defend benching them in games as well.
Yeah.
Most 5.0 or 4.5 or whatever midfielders you have, you wouldn't expect them to start every game, and you wouldn't start them every game either. But if you have Oscar Bob for, let's say, the 3 first game weeks with Chelsea, Ipswich, and West Ham, I'm gonna start if he starts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I think Eze, Saka, even Nkunku, to be fair, they sort of pick themselves, or not necessarily, but they don't really need too much explaining. Let's just talk about Bruno a little bit, because he was one of the players last year that was always, in terms of the data, doing a lot better than his actual realised points. Mm-hmm. Why have you gone for him?
Well, Bruno is also a player that's loved by the analytics because you know what you get. He's a 90-minute man. He's Man United's main man, and he is on penalties as well. And it looks like every single attack is going through him as well. Yeah. I think it's just a good value pick at 8.5.
Yeah. Do you expect United attack to click a little bit more this season, or I mean, does he really even need that? Yeah, he sort of seemed like the sort of the player that remained in good form last year when others around him perhaps weren't finishing the chances he was creating, and that led to him having a slightly worse FPL season, if not an actual real playing season.
Mm-hmm. Nah, well, I'm not sure the United attack is going to be so much better, but hopefully he could get a few more points, at least at the start. Let's see how long I own him.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's move on to the forwards now. A lot of money still to be spent. Who have you got?
Mm-hmm. Erling Haaland.
He's in? Any question about that?
Well, he's 15 million. It's a price that can be hard to justify if he doesn't get off to a good start, but I believe in him.
Okay, talk to me about the value of Haaland, because obviously a lot, he's 15 million, most expensive player in the history of FPL. But if you're captaining him most weeks, just explain to the viewers why that price isn't as crazy high as it might potentially seem on paper.
Well, he is a pretty safe captain to just go with every single week. He's a goal machine as well. He scores a lot, great output. He is on penalties, plays for probably the best attacking team in the league. Yeah, I don't know, 15 million, it's a lot, but I think he might be worth it, and that's why he is in my game week 1 team.
Yeah, makes sense to me. What's his ownership actually at the moment? 45% only. Probably that is due to the price. No Salah in this team. Let's have a quick word about him. Was it a choice between those two?
Yeah, for me it was always one of the two. I just didn't fancy the teams with both of them. I just felt like the team around were too weak for my liking. And I never really considered going without any of them.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it seems like I'm, let's call it chickening out and ending up on Holland.
Okay. Well, yeah, fair enough. All right, let's move on to the next forward.
Then I got Isak.
Sure.
Well, maybe he's expected to score a lot of points in the at least the first game. Very nice fixture. He had a fantastic last end of last season. He's I don't know if he's the most owned player in the game. Let's see.
Oof. Well, he's at 56.4% ownership.
Yeah,
So I think he must be, right?
he
'Cause
is.
no one else is up there. Watkins is relatively high at 44, but yeah, Isak is the most owned player in the game, actually by a decent margin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense, right? If you look at his price, his predicted points here on the right, when you compare him to Havertz and Watkins, players in a similar price bracket, he is just levels above them over the first 4 game weeks, according to Fantasy Football Hub's predicted points, and he's actually quite close to Haaland, which is crazy. He is closer to Haaland than any other forward in the game is to him over the first 4 game weeks, which is pretty insane, right? I guess that just shows what good value he is and what a good pick he is.
Yeah,
Even home to Tottenham in game week 3, 6.9 predicted points. It's super, super strong.
that's pretty mental, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. 5.5 million left to spend. Who have you gone for in the final attacking spot?
Do you want to have a guess?
Yes. Imagine I said no. How fun would that be? Well, I know who I would pick in this slot, and it would be Joao Pedro. I think he's the man at that price bracket that has the highest ceiling for sure. However, I have been slightly put off by him. Just looking at it, what you were saying there about an early wildcard is interesting because I think his first 3 fixtures, United at home is decent, but Everton away, Arsenal away are extremely tough for attackers.
Mhm.
Two of the best defenses last year, especially in the second half of the season when Everton sort of got their act together. If you're then looking at kind of rotating him with Bob and then playing through 4 and 5 before you wildcard, then that makes a lot more sense to me.
Mhm.
But the main point is I don't really like Armstrong, so I don't think there's anyone else really at that bracket at 5.5. So yeah, I'd be shocked if it wasn't João Pedro.
It is João Pedro.
Makes sense. So why have you gone for him?
I had 5.5 million left to spend.
Yeah,
And as you touched on earlier, I think he's the best option at that price. He only got 45 minutes in total in like preseason. I think it was the last game just now where he scored, I think. But I'm still kind of optimistic on his expected minutes. Yeah, I think he's a decent value pick, and there's no one under that price point that I'm looking for. I have recently been on drafts where I can't remember who I saw, but I've spent 0.5 more on that slot and went with Maniz instead,
yeah.
who might be just a little bit of a better FPL player, but all in all, he's on penalties. He plays for a decent team, and he's expected to start.
I think that's the only real debate, isn't it? If you're not sure about that eighth attacker, whether it's Bob or Rogers coming into the last couple of hours before the deadline, do you just go all in on Muniz? But even if Bob or Rogers weren't in the team, which we expect them to be in the team, especially at the start of the season, I think playing João Pedro most weeks is completely fine. We did that at the start of last season. It worked out pretty well. And yeah, as you say, he's on penalties. So anyway, that is your team. I like it. Yeah, quite a few changes from a couple of weeks ago when we recorded the first video. But
Yep, without a
how,
doubt.
yeah, how close do you think this is going to be then to your before we look at the team rating and how this does on Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool? How close do you think now you are, just a couple of days away from the deadline to locking a team in?
Well, I have a core of a few players that I more or less know is locked in my team.
Run
Uh,
us through that. Who yeah. So who are the core players that are locked in?
well, it's one of the 4.0 defenders. Not
Sure.
sure who yet. Might be Barco, might be Greaves, might be Johnson. might be Harvard Bellies, I don't know. But it's a 4.0 defender. Then it's Pedro Porro, Saka, Esse, Bruno, Isak, and Haaland. So those 7 players are like more or less 100% locked in my team.
Okay. So in terms of like a rough structure, then it's going to be very similar to this, whatever happens.
Yeah, most
Okay.
probably.
All right.
There
Well,
might just be a few minor changes.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, let's see how this team does. Okay, Jonas. So here we go. This is your team on screen. And let's see if it has beaten your team rating from before. You've now got a 94% team rating and 64.9 predicted points. Although I have to first ask you, who would you captain in game week 1? And we're close enough now that I can seriously ask you that question, and this might change your team rating actually.
Well, it's between 2 players for game week 1. It's either Isak or Saka. Which one I haven't decided just yet.
Give me a name just so I can do it. Who if deadline was in 1 minute, who would you go for?
Saka.
Saka, really? Okay, well actually it was interesting. It was on Saka anyway. But there we go. That is it. 94% team rating, 64.9 predicted points. If I offered you 65 points right now for game week 1, would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I would. I guess 65 points over. Let's say you could get 65 points every single game week, like on average over the season. That would be. I suppose you get a pretty good rank with that. Amount of points per game week.
You may even get first again. Who knows? Well, that is actually a slight improvement on your first team that you gave us a couple of weeks ago. You've gone up to from 93% to 94%, and from 64.7 predicted points up to 64.9. So not a crazy jump, but a jump nonetheless. You go above yourself in the leaderboard. So you got to take that, marginal improvement.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Guys,
it's good that the team is going the right way.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
not going downwards.
Guys, if you think you can beat Jonas's team rating, the winner from last year, it's some scalp if you can, then you can input your own team into Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool for free. As you've seen at the top of the screen, all video. All you got to do, when I put it on screen right now to make it super easy, is upload a screenshot of your side onto the website. It takes 5 seconds. You don't have to go through and pick each player position by position like we've done. That was just for the point of the video. It's so easy to do. And then you'll get your team rating, your predicted points, your gaming rating for free. Now, if you want to go one step further, which is what we're about to do right here with Jonas's team, then sign up to Fantasy Football Hub and you will see your personalized AI recommended transfers for your team, which, according to the data, will improve it. Let's get into those for your team now, Jonas.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so here I have your AI recommended transfers on screen. And they are as follows. I will say that before Game Week 1, everyone will be recommended. Every side will be recommended 3 transfers. And I'm not sure if you're going to like these. It involves a lot of City players. One big one, especially, is leaving the team. But here we go. The main news is that Haaland is gone and Salah is coming in, really, in his place. So it's Haaland and Bob out for Salah and Muniz, a player you talked about. And then with that little bit of money as well that you've gained from that, Konza goes out and Gvardiol comes in, strengthening your team immediately for sort of game week 2. There you can see the disparity, I think. So Konza, Bob, Haaland all out, Gvardiol, Salah, Muniz in. What do you think about those moves?
Well, as I touched on earlier this video, I'm more or less set on going with Haaland. So, in my opinion, that wouldn't. Well, I'm not going for Salah. So, I've already decided, I think.
Does this kind of give you any sort of like doubt in your mind that maybe we are just sort of pigeonholing ourselves into Haaland drafts for
Nah.
FOMO?
I think I want Haaland. You could cap him almost every single week. You can captain, yeah, let's say I go with Saka in game week 1, then I could captain Haaland for game week 2 against Ipswich, 3 against West Ham, 4 against Brentford.
Yeah.
You got a captain option almost every week, and he could go crazy against. I'm pretty sure he could go crazy against whatever team.
Yep. Fair enough. Okay. So you're probably not going to do these moves, but you know, not for
Well,
1 second are we saying that you have to do these moves when you see them, but it does just make
course.
you potentially think.
But what I talked about earlier, Muniz is it's likely that he might come into my team, and it's likely that it just stays on João Pedro. It depends if I could find 0.5 anywhere.
Yeah. And also Gvardiol, your man from last year, they're saying like, he did so well for you last year. Why not bring him back in?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I already got 2 City players. I think I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think this kind of just shows that really it's very up in the air. There are a lot of potential players that are extremely good value that could easily be in any team. And I like the fact that there's no real set template. And if you want to go outside of it, like with these moves, then according to the data, that's absolutely fine as well. What I will do is I'll make these transfers and then we'll just see how that affects your team rating. So here we go. Your transfers are your team's back on screen. I'll just quickly make those substitutions so we can see how that has affected your side. Salah then comes in, which a player that you're not keen on, but
well, I am, but
okay, he's not going to be in your team.
In my team.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do Kwanzaa out probably for Gvardiol. Although Gvardiol could easily stay on the bench, but yeah, there's the team. And if we were to captain Salah, for example, game week 1, that has bumped the team rating by 2% up to 96% and 66.4 predicted points. It's very marginal, really.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
Yeah, but according to the data, that is the team that would be slightly improved. Who knows? But nonetheless, not saying you go for it, but yeah, it's a little bit interesting to see what the data is saying.
Well, from my understanding, everyone, including myself, thinks their own team is better than everyone else's. so, so I don't know.
That's true. Guys, if you would like your own AI recommended transfers, then sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. You'll do exactly the same thing that we've just done there with Jonas's team. But you don't have to do them, by the way. It's not like you get your AI recommended transfers and you got to lock them in. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. You didn't really think of that. Muniz, for example, a player that Jonas has said there, I'm not really thinking about him too much, but the data suggests he's a very good pick. So why not? And also, we're all so set on Haaland. Should actually we be thinking maybe Salah's a good option? Would we be shocked if he starts the season unbelievably well? Probably not. But yeah, there we go, Jonas. Thank you very much for coming on once again and showing us your updated team. You're going to be a regular this season across everything Fantasy Football Hub, which I'm very excited for. Will you be posting a final team reveal on the website near the deadline?
I might be. I might not be.
Oh, wow. See. I mean, that is up in the air. The only way to know really is if you sign up to Fantasy Football Hub, I suppose. And then you'll see what Jonas ends up going with. His Twitter has also been on screen the entire video, so make sure to follow him there. And one more time, this is the best time in the season to sign up to the website. 50% off. And if you do not win your mini league, you will get a full refund. Jonas, thank you very much, mate. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.